Hi, hello friends. Welcome back to Night Court Narrative. I am Elvish. I hope that you guys are doing fantastic. Super small disclaimer. I understand that this video is almost a month late. I am so sorry. I've had so many technical issues between my camera, my microphone, just everything is so against me right now. So I am doing the best I can with what I have. I am so sorry. But today is going to be a shorter video. I do kind of want to do it a little bit differently for February. You know that I like to go above and beyond for my wrap-ups. However, I can't do that because I have no idea when everything will stop working. So with that being said, I do want to kind of quickly go over the books that I read in January. I want to do a maybe yes, no, maybe with the books in January. I also want to give you guys my favorite reads, my most hated reads. Sorry, and I want to go over just everything that I read in January. And yeah, so if you guys didn't know, this year I have a 250 book reading goal. I want to attempt to read 250 books, and I understand that's a bit ambitious. However, as I currently sit here, it is February 18th and I am on book 35. So I definitely think it is possible. I know right now currently I have 10 books in order. They are like the little short novella stories, kind of like, what was it, Valentine's Slay, you know, a series like that. So I think that'll help boost me. Not that I'm necessarily looking for tiny books, but I just really loved Valentine's Slay and I wanted to read the other books in the series. So it was definitely something that intrigued me. So I know that that's going to boost me. So most likely by the end of today, I'll be at almost 50 books read, which is just insane to me. So yeah. But first and foremost, I did read Haunting the Hunter. This book was on my radar for quite some time. I did see it on TikTok. The author described it as the reader being the main character and the stalker, hunter, whatever was hunting us as the reader. And I wholeheartedly think that was so falsely advertised. I did read this book and got none of that. I didn't find the book great. Unfortunately, I didn't really like, I don't know, I really actually didn't like any of it. The writing was a little okay. It was a little bit juvenile on my end. The spice, when we did end up getting it, was super cringe and I just did not like it. I was originally going to make a video on it, but then I was just like, I have nothing nice to say. And you know, that never really stops me before, but just I genuinely had nothing more than maybe 2 minutes to talk about this book because of just how underwhelming it was. So I ended up giving it a 2-star rating, and no. So no. I did read Filthy Rich Fae. I do have book 1 and book 2. I have yet to read book 2. Book 1, Filthy Rich Fae, did end up getting a 2-star rating. I genuinely did not like this book at all. It reminded me of Lights Out, ACOTAR, and I don't remember what other book I compared it to, but it was practically a nurse from this day and age. She gets sucked into another world and she has to like do shit in the Fae realm, and she goes back and forth between the human world and the Fae world. I don't know, it was so boring. I could not get into it, and I didn't find any of it like realistic in any way, which I understand. Obviously Fae and Fae world, how could any of that be realistic? But like, there are ways of doing it, and I don't think that that was it. So the beginning of the month was pretty rough. I did not really enjoy the first few books. If I did the yes, no, maybe for this, I'm sorry. No, I'm sorry. Third on the list is Love in Focus. I pre-ordered this back in May. I've had this on my bookshelf since May, and it has been staring a hole into my soul, and I finally did read it. I did give it a 4-star rating. I loved this book so much. I do, however, I did make a video. If you guys have not seen that video, definitely go check it out. But I do think the only thing that really kind of turned me off from this book is the dual POV. And I'm not necessarily saying like, oh, two main characters have their own POVs and whatever, but one of the main characters has a third person POV and the other main character has a first person POV. So it kind of was like really, really confusing to me. And although I do have the physical book, I ended up having to stop halfway through and I went to the audio book, and it helped a little bit more because the characters had two different voices, so it helped my brain hole comprehend a little bit more. So I do say that possibly if you're struggling with the POV, I will say that the audiobook does help a little bit, but that would be the only thing I would change. As I mentioned in the book or in the video as well, the book does a lot of pop culture references, which in my opinion are so overly cringe, but this author did a very, very wonderful job with it. So I'm gonna say yes to this book. Up next is such a heartbreaking thing in my opinion, because I absolutely loved the Ruinous Love trilogy. So moving into Brianne Weaver's new series, the Taurus season, the Carnage series, or whatever it's called, I hated it. I gave this book a 1-star rating. I absolutely hated it. I did a video on that one as well, so definitely go check that out. I personally felt like it was basically a horribly written fanfic of the Ruinous Love series. I didn't find anything unique. I didn't find anything worth my time. Actually, the writing went completely downhill as well. All of the characters are unfortunately interchangeable with one another, so you pick which character you like from either one of her books and insert them into this book. There was definitely no uniqueness or anything, and I really unfortunately hated this book so much. So I'm kind of softy and effing this series, but I am hoping that book 2 is better, so I'm definitely going to give book 2 a chance. But Taurus season, no. I know that this is going to be a very, very, very controversial thing to say. The next 4 are actually manga. I don't read manga very often, but it is still reading, and I am still reading words on a page. Therefore, I am going to count it towards my reading goal. If you don't agree to that, suck a chode. Goodbye. But the next 3 are Call of the Night. I did volume 1, 2, and 3 all together. I didn't really like Call of the Night. It was pretty good. Volume 1 got a 3.5, volume 2 got a 4, and volume 3 got a 3-star. So they were all pretty much around the same rating. I do find this manga pretty repetitive. I did find that it was basically the same thing repeated over and over, between her telling him that she is a vampire, between him not able to sleep, between them having to express their feelings towards one another. It did get very redundant, and I kind of didn't like it towards the end. I was kind of hate reading the 3rd one a little bit. Not saying that it was bad. Like, I will definitely read the others if it comes up to it, and I'm definitely down to watch the anime, but overly I was not really enjoying it, so I didn't really continue it. Not that I have them, but I know there's an app that you can go and get them, and I didn't do it. But overall, Call of the Night, this guy really wants to become a vampire, and she will only turn you into a vampire if she falls in love with you. So it's basically him attempting to get the vampire to fall in love with him so that she can turn him, and it was really cute. So if I had to do yes, no, maybe, I would say maybe. It was cute. It was a fun read, but very repetitive. So if you don't like repetitiveness, maybe. Next is, it's a little spicy. Next is Secret Triple X. This is one of the manga that is completely wrapped up. You do not get to see inside of it whenever you buy it. It is mail on mail, and it is so cute. I did give this one a 4-star rating. I loved the plot line so much. I did love the romance so much. The thing about manga, if you guys don't know, manga has pictures, it's illustrated, it has like the dialogue written out. This quite literally shows everything, and when I mean everything, you see every spice scene quite literally drawn out and very explicit detail. So it was quite interesting. It was okay. The book was really, really good. I do think the spice was kind of a little hit or miss because it was, again, very redundant. Thing about manga is that things repeat over and over again because it turns into a series and they need to really hit the nail on the head, if that makes sense. So I didn't really like the redundancy of it, but I did really like the plot, and the romance was really good. The spice, not that much. So if you want something super, super spicy, I will honestly say maybe. This one was really good. I would say maybe yes, but maybe. Next, I have The Nightingale. This one is one that I have picked up several times, but I have finally just finished it. The Nightingale, I'm gonna say maybe. It's definitely, it has to be your cup of tea. The writing was beautifully done. I really do think the writing was absolutely beautifully done. I can definitely see the appeal behind it. I did give The Nightingale 4.75. It was almost a 5-star rating, which if you guys know me, I never do 7 5s, 2 5s, anything. I always give it either a whole or a half. This one was almost 5 stars for me, which I made a video about that, so definitely go check that out. But the writing was so beautifully done, and I know me personally, I am very intrigued by World War II, and I'm very intrigued by the bad people that I cannot say on YouTube. Not that I support them or not that I support what they did, but I'm very intrigued by history. So when World War II comes up and the bad people and then America's side and then Europe's side, I'm very interested in hearing about it. So this book was very, very nice and somewhat informative, even though it was a fiction, so obviously nothing in it was true, but it was very informative and I really did enjoy it. So if you haven't read it, I do highly suggest it, but I will give it, my heart says yes, but in actuality, because you have to be into this stuff, I'm gonna say maybe, but yes. Next is That's Not My Name. It is a little quick thriller about a girl that does lose her memory momentarily and gets kidnapped by someone that is not her family, and they attempt to find her. And I did give this one a 3.5, but truly, I'm gonna say yes. I actually really liked this read. It was a very quick read. It was very trippy. It was very thriller-y. It was really nice. I really enjoyed that, actually. So I'm gonna go ahead and say, if you like thrillers, I did a whole video on it, so definitely go take a look at that. But I say yes. You know, even though it is only a 3.5, I do say yes. It was a very, very nice thriller. Next is Birthday Girl by Penelope Douglas. This one did also get a 3.5. I'm gonna say maybe. I really loved Credence, and I understand people hate that book with a burning passion, but I loved Credence. I am so unapologetically a fan of Credence. Do I approve of the topics in that book? Absolutely not. Do they talk with my morals, and do my morals appreciate it? No, but it is a great book and I will die on that hill. But Credence did give me, or Birthday Girl did give me some Credence vibes in a way. I do feel like it was the more appropriate version of that book. I do think that this one was a little more vanilla. I do think that this one was a little softer. In some points too, I do feel like this book was a little bit slower, so I kind of wanted the pace to be picked up a slight bit more. So for that, I did give it a 3.5 as well. I'm looking at my ratings and I am so lost on where I was on my page. I have a reading journal and I was like, where am I? I did give this one a 3.5 as well. It was almost a 4-star rating, but it wasn't quite there. So I will say maybe on this one. This one is hit or miss. You'll either love it or you'll hate it. I enjoyed it, but it wasn't my favorite. Does that make sense? Next, continuing on with Penelope Douglas, I have Fall Boys. I don't know how to describe this book. I don't know how to describe this book. So I did give this book a 2-star rating. In my opinion, it kind of reminded me of The Ritual by Chantal Tessier. I hated this book. I'm not gonna lie, I hated it. I might try and reread it at some point to read the entire series, but I personally hated this book. I don't think that this is her style, and even she was like, I'm gonna try something new, I'm not gonna do this for once. I don't think that this was necessarily her style, so for me it kind of fell a little bit flat. But this one, I'm gonna say maybe, because this might be someone's cup of tea. For me, it didn't hit. I can't give you any information about this book because I truly just did not like it that much, where I retained 0. The next 3 I actually did give 5 stars. I have Dating After the End of the World by Geneva Rose, and then I know, y'all, it's gonna be so controversial. I have 2 Colleen Hoover books. I have Woman Down and Regretting You. All 3 of these got 5-star ratings, and I do recommend every single one of them. Dating After the End of the World is so unique. It is, I mean, exactly what it sounds like. It's post-apocalyptic. We have romance, we have banter. Oh, it was so great. Woman Down, we have an author that attempts to get, oh, I don't want to spoil it. She attempts to get experience for her upcoming book, but then it turns grim. And then Regretting You, I legitimately just recorded a video before this one about this. It is such a very heartfelt book about losing the ones that you love, and it was really, really good. I do highly recommend every single one of them. Controversial, I know. I personally like Colleen Hoover books. I will never apologize for that, but yeah. Up next is actually my very first DNF of the year. I have A Million Times Yes. I gave this one a 1-star only because Goodreads doesn't allow you to do anything under 1. I do use Goodreads and Storygraph, but Goodreads doesn't allow you to do anything under a 1, so I did give this a 1-star. I did end up DNFing this about 20% through. It was so bad. It was so bad. It was so bad. I can't even begin to tell you how bad the writing in this book was. I would much rather pick up the worst rated Twilight fanfic. Mind you, I like Twilight. I would much rather pick up the worst rated Twilight fanfic ever and read that front to back several times than to read one more page of this book. I can't even tell you what it's about. It was so bad. Me personally, I don't recommend it, and judging by some of the other reviews, they don't recommend it either, so no. Next is another Colleen Hoover book. I am trying to read all of her books right now, but I have Reminders of Him. This was really, really cute. I did give this one a 3.5. It was very, 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 very slow. It was such a slow read, not to like the extent where it'll definitely put you to sleep, but it was very slow. When the plot was plotting, it was plotting, and when the spice was up, or I don't know if I should say spice or just romance. Probably just romance. I loved the banter. I loved the romance. I loved both characters on both sides. The last, I think, 5 or 6 chapters made me ugly cry like a bitch. I was spewing tears unapologetically, and I really liked this book. I really liked this book. I think the only reason why I didn't record a video on this is because of all of the technical issues that I've had to record most of my videos 8 or 9 different times, and at this point I can't tell you a single thing about the book. I mean, that's a lie. I can tell you a lot about this book, but not enough to make like a 20-minute video about it, you know? So I'm gonna say maybe to this book. I really liked it, but with how slow it was, it might not be everyone's cup of tea, so I'm gonna go maybe. Next is, I'm actually, okay, the next two, I'm actually reading both of these series. These are the little novella type series that I was talking about. The first one is Hot for Slayer. I believe this one is Tessa Bailey. Oh, please, I'm so sorry. Please don't get me wrong. Please. Hot for Slayer, it's like all of these books are under 100 pages long. I think the longest one is maybe like 110 pages. Hot for Slayer is pretty good. It's about a vampire and a vampire slayer. The slayer, I believe, ends up losing his memory and ends up falling for the vampire, or maybe it's vice versa. I don't remember. I'm so sorry. I've read so many books since then, but they end up losing their memory and they end up going after the one that they're like, they've spent centuries chasing one another, trying to kill one another, and now they are helping one another, and they do end up getting a romance with one another, and it was so cute. Oh, it was so cute. I did give this one 3 stars. I do think it could have been better, but with it being a tiny little novella, only about 80 pages, obviously we would have needed a whole-fledged novel for that to happen. If it was a longer novel, I would definitely give it a shot, but with it being what it was, I do think we could have received more. So I did give it a 3-star rating. This one is a maybe. I don't know. This one's a maybe. Next is Valentine's Slay. This is by Navessa Allen. I gave this one a 4-star rating. This one is also a part of one of the series where it's like short little novellas. I believe this page is between 50 and 80 pages long. This one was fantastic. Basically, a gravedigger does hear someone shouting in his graveyard, and it's someone that he had just buried alive, basically. And we go through this whole like little tiny fun adventure trying to figure out who attempted to kill her, and which we already kind of know from the beginning. She suspects that it's like her husband, and it's such a cute story. I really did love it. I think the only reason why I gave this a 4-star is because we don't get as much information as I would have liked, so I do think the rating is quite selfish, but I do like, I loved this one. So this one was a 4-star. I do recommend this one, absolutely. I wish we got a full-fledged novel from this one. I would have died. Next is Never King. Now this one is my personal opinion. Never King, okay, pause. If you guys have been here for a minute, you guys know that I do not read the synopsis of books. I don't go out of my way to read about the books before I actually read them. So this was my personal problem, but this is a retelling of Peter Pan. And if you guys know me, I despise retellings so much. Even though I loved ACOTAR, and I understand that that was kind of like a small, like, the first ACOTAR was like a small retelling of Beauty and the Beast, but it was actually done well. Like, I don't know, I didn't really like it. This one was, however, one of the best retellings I have read though, but it still only received a 2-star rating for me. I didn't really like the characters in this book. I didn't feel like they were, how do I say? I didn't feel like they were likable. So I did give this one a 2-star rating, and I finished it because it was very small, but I don't think I would ever go back and read the series again. So I do think that I have fully DNF'd the series. So for me personally, no, I don't recommend this one. The next 2 books I have given 5 stars. Both videos have, or both books have videos on my channel, so yes. The first one is The Last Letter by Rebecca Yarros. I absolutely love this book. I was really disappointed by the fact that this one wasn't as devastatingly emotionally wrecking as everyone kept saying it was. I do wish it did emotionally wreck more. I definitely do not understand all the videos of people bawling their eyes out on TikTok. I do kind of think it's for the views, but still, that's okay. The Last Letter was absolutely phenomenal. I personally recommend this book, so that is a yes. The next one is one out of 2 of my all-time favorite reads, which I will get to that at the end. I'll actually just tell you guys now. I have 2 all-time favorite reads of this month. That is Regretting You by Colleen Hoover, and that is this, Ferris in the Forest by Laura Grant. I loved this book. I loved this book. Loved this book. I have the great honor of actually being friends with this author, and I had no idea that me reading this book was going to give her so much anxiety, but she messaged me and she was like, oh my god, like, I just saw that you're reading this on Goodreads, and my heart spiked, and she was like, don't tell me if you hate it. And I'm like, oh shit. Like, mind you, I'm only on like chapter 3 at this point. I think it was like 11 chapter. Okay, my only pet peeve, I'm going to be so for real, actually thinking back on it now, my only pet peeve is that there are no chapter numbers, so I have no idea how many chapters there are. I'm assuming there's like 10 to 12 chapters. I do have one more pet peeve about the book, but it's not a bad thing. But I loved this book so much. I loved the plot. I loved the characters. I loved the banter. I loved the relationship. Oh, the spice. Oh, when I say the spice was spicing, oh, this book was so wholeheartedly phenomenal. And I'm telling you guys this so for real. So I've already done a book video about this, but I did receive this book for free. However, I would gladly go out of my way to rebuy it because I want her to have my money. But I did get it on Kindle Unlimited too, because for some reason, like, for me, make this make sense. For me, like, sometimes reading my Kindle, like, I have really bad dyslexia, so sometimes reading on my Kindle makes it easier for me to read. So I read the physical book halfway through, and then I went to Kindle and I read the rest of the book, and it was such a great read. But I do have to sit there and say that I did receive this book for free. But I said in the first video I did of her book, she has another book called Casual Affairs. Loved that one too. As I mentioned in that, just because I did receive this particular book for free and just because we're friends, you're not safe. You guys know I'm brutally honest, but I wholeheartedly 100% without a doubt loved this book so much. So if I recommend any book from this, it's that one. Yes, you should have already read it. Why are you still here? We are almost done. Let me make sure I'm getting this correct, because I read so many books, so let me make sure I'm like legitimately telling you what I did and did not read in January. Which one did we stop on? Oh, that was it. I stopped recording. I accidentally pressed a button, so there is a button on my keyboard that stops recording, and I have no idea. So that was actually it. So Ferris in the Forest was the final book that I read in January. There were a lot of books that I really did like this month, and there were a lot of books that I do wish that were a little bit better. But ultimately, I hope that this was okay. I am going to do a tinier version of this on TikTok and YouTube because I don't feel like editing that much. But yes, I I really recommend, if I could recommend them over again, Dating After the End of the World, Woman Down, Ferris in the Forest, Regretting You, The Last Letter, yes. But yeah, I'm so sorry that this was kind of a chaotic video. I like to do my wrap-ups a little bit differently, but with all of my technical issues, I just was unable to do it. So I had to rapid fire it, and I'm so sorry that the video was kind of bad, but I really appreciate you guys for being here. But as always, I hope y'all have a fantastic day, and I hope to see you guys in the next video. Bye.